Hello YouTube, it's Gametist here, and we're going to be learning how to design games with Papers, Please. Which Hello YouTube, it's Gametist here, and today we're going to be analyzing Papers, Please, which is actually a masterclass in game design. Really, if you're a game designer or a student of game design, you have to play this game. This is an amazing game. It's got a lot of great stuff that you can learn, and it's a prime example of how early our industry is, because it shows so many revolutionary concepts that have just never been done before. So it really opens the possibilities of what can be done. So in today's lesson we're going to be covering three subjects. First one is going to be mood, so setting the mood in your game. Papers, Please does a great job with this. We're going to go into a lot of I mean, that's probably going to be most of it, because it's awesome. I mean, the mood in this game is awesome. I mean, it's not awesome in a good way. It's awesome because it's depressing, but it's great. It's great depressing. Second point is going to be puzzle games and the level design in puzzle games. Now, Papers, Please might not be the best or the most clear example of puzzle games, because it doesn't feel like a puzzle game, but it is, but it doesn't, but it is. Like, people don't really know what the hell Papers, Please is, because it's not a simulator, it's not a puzzle game, it's not a adventure game, but it's a bit of everything, so it's kind of a hard genre to put it in. But I do think the levels are very well designed, especially when it comes to puzzle games. So we'll get deeper into that. And the third thing is going to be storytelling. The way this game tells the story is very different to how other games have told stories in the past, and it's, like I said, it shows what can be done. I mean, it uses very alternative methods to tell the story, and it somehow really gets you engaged. It's a very simple game, and it gets you so engaged with the story. It seems like the story is going to be secondary, and it's not. So let's go straight into it. Story. Start with a new one. Now, there's a lot of cool stuff that you'll learn throughout the game later, but yeah. So here's a little point about storytelling. This game does a great job in getting you straight to the game, because a lot of people begin with these long texts about the world they live in, or a cut sequence that is really long, or some dialogue or something. People want to get straight to the game, and they're probably going to skip it, and if they skip it, it's going to be worse, because they're not going to pay attention to the important stuff, because it might be a lot of important stuff that they need to enjoy the game from the beginning, and because he didn't make it easy to look at, then they just skipped it. So he does a great job with this. Why? Because there's a big picture and there's a short sentence. That's it. That's all you need. Just boil it down to the simplest thing. Get your story going. He tells exactly what you need to start with, and that's it. You'll be able to tell more about the story later. The thing is, unlike in film, for example, in movies, you have like about 20 minutes to, introduce the world and introduce the characters, blah 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 blah. Gaming is a bit faster paced. You want to get into it as soon as possible, and you want to develop the story later as it goes on, because also people are going to be more open to know more about the world and the characters when they already connect with the world and the characters. So there's a saying, show don't tell. That's a saying in the film industry. In the game industry, it's usually translated to do don't show. So take that into account. Get straight to the point. You only know the basic stuff. Yep, it's telling you blah blah blah. Very simple text, and you don't mind reading it because it's really short. So family is Christmas. So you get an idea of the story. Glory to our I have no idea how you pronounce this. Artotska? I don't know. And my girlfriend is Russian. I don't know. I should know this. Then again, that's not really Russia. So anyway, and here's one great thing about the mood as well. You might be looking at the newspaper, and yes, that's a great thing for the storytelling part, because it gives you feedback on your actions, and it's a very cool recurring thing that you pay attention to. But I'm not looking at that actually. I'm looking at this. This button is awesome. It's one of the best buttons I've ever seen. Now, I know I'm going crazy about buttons, but I like details, and as a game designer, you should love details and pay attention to the details, because there's opportunities to tell you a story in every corner. And this button, it could have simply said next, like the other ones, or it could have said start the day, or it could have said, begin, something like that. But the game designer chose to say walk to work, which means you're not even taking a car to work. You're not even taking a bus to work. You're walking, which really puts you in the mood that you're just a poor, lonely guy who is just a little speck and you have no power. That's basically how it puts you at the beginning. So, and all of that is transmitted by the button. It's a really great design choice. Let's go to it. Yeah, again, very short text. And here you're going to see the color palette. This is also regarding the mood of the game. The color palette is excellent in this game. It's gray, it's brown, it's ugly, and it's awesome. It's awesome because that's the way it's supposed to look. I mean, if you got the same game and made it colorful, it just wouldn't make sense. And I know this was done by like one guy, so it's very inspiring that one guy did this. But it was done by one guy, and I know he didn't have a lot of resources, and a lot of many of the reasons why this game looks low budget, it's because it is. But I'm sure that even if the guy had $1 million, this artistic style would still be the best one to go for, because this is what transmits the game. So even if you had $1 million, it just wouldn't feel the same if it looked different. This is the whole point of it. It's supposed to look cheap because it's supposed to be it's supposed to look cheap and retro because that's when it happened. It happened in that time, happened long ago when the graphics looked like this, and it looks cheap because you're living in basically East Berlin, where things were very cheap and very poor. So, or at least that's what they like us to believe. So yeah. So a quick tip about color palettes. I know there's a lot of game designers that some of them love art and they're graphic designers on their side, but others just don't have a artistic touch, so to speak. So I recommend colorlovers.com, which is a great website if you need color palettes, and it's a great way to begin the artistic, to communicate to your artists what kind of mood you're going for. So you can go to colorlovers.com, find the palette you like, and begin setting the mood for your game very early on. So yeah, and now I'm gonna move on to the puzzle part of it. So the game, like I said, it has a very good level design. You don't even have to read the rules. You're gonna get it. I mean, it's a puzzle game because there's a weird thing about humans that they like to see patterns everywhere. And puzzle games are all about patterns. Humans like to see patterns when they organize things at home, when they put things in order, when they clean up their desk, when they set their books. We like patterns, and we like to find patterns. So in this game, it's a very simple pattern, but here, for example, you're checking the face, the date. That's all the information you have right now, and the sex. That's it. That's all the. That's really the only things that you pay attention if you didn't read the rules, and it's enough. So everything matches. Everything is good. Boom. Goodbye. And it's a very simple puzzle, but it's very well the way the game designer, I mean, dosifies this puzzle game, because as you go on with the game, you get to a point where it's just madness. It's just a bunch of papers. This is all covered with papers, and you're just rushing to check everything really quickly. The thing is, if you started like that, players would give up because they just wouldn't know how to play it. And it's a big mistake a lot of beginning game designers do. They just give too many rules at the beginning. And this guy just gave one rule, basically. And let's say you have 20 rules. He just gave one. And then he just dosified the rest as you progress through the levels. So the thing is, the lesson here basically is when you have all the rules of your game, make sure you dosify them well, because this will achieve two things. First of all, it will help your players get involved in the game, and it will help your players to learn it and get grabbed by it, because if you make it too complicated, they're just going to run away. So it makes it easier for the player to grab. That's the first thing. And the second thing you'll achieve is that you'll keep player retention, because the thing is, when you give everything at once, people are going to be like, that's awesome, and then after an hour they're going to be like, goodbye. because there's nothing else to find out. So by dosifying these things, you keep the players coming because they know that there's going to be something new in the next level, and you just give them a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. It's basically stretching the life of your rules, basically. So you achieve two things by doing this, and he does it very well. So let's let her pass. And I want to get to the next level because the next level there's going to be more. Oh, I screwed up. It's a great thing about this game because you rarely have feedback for good things you do, but you definitely have feedback for bad things you do. So here, for example, you have this guy. He said something a bit different compared to the others, and it's very subtle, but it already gives you, because he kind of attracted your attention because he didn't say the common things, it gives you an opinion about him, like whether you like him or not, you know? So, oh no, he's from a different country. Anyway, yeah. So, you see this guy answered, go to hell. So you start feeling like these people that are stamping passports at the border, basically. It's a very simple thing because this is not even a multiplayer game. It's not real people. It's virtual people. But you somehow connect to them already. It's a really great effect, and it's just done by the randomization of these dialogues, these little dialogues. It's very well done because they feel like real people because everybody has a different answer. Let's say yes. Oop. So it does a great job at that. Let's see if we can pass this level real quick. Yes, it was a mistake to open this checkpoint, and things like this. You know, this is about the storyline. It finishes and you barely have a chance to react. Now, what does that mean? And what's going to happen? You know, it's little, very well written dialogues that are just, they don't give enough. It's a mystery. It just gives you a little bit, but it, you know, your curiosity is sort of awakened. So this screen is actually very good for a very important reason, and it's a storytelling part of it. And the thing is, if the game was only about you being at the border, eventually you could quit and never come back because you don't really have anything holding you back or holding you to the game. This screen is very interesting because it introduces two things, two very important things. The first thing is the overall goal of the game. So the mini goals of the game is, should I let this person pass or not? Here it introduces that you're actually trying to save your family. You're actually trying to feed your son, your wife, pay for the rent. There's an overall arc. And this is very important because this, I'm going to be talking about film a lot because my background is film as well. So in film, you have characters that have an overall want. They might be, let's say they're stuck in the villain's cave and they want to escape the villain's cave, but what's the overall goal? They always have a goal. They want to get the girl, they want to save the world, they want to go to the planet and the edge of space, whatever. They always have a goal. And it's the same with games. A lot of beginner game designers have great concepts, great mechanics in the game, great systems, but because they don't have an overall goal, players just don't keep playing the game because they get bored of it. So this is also transformed or described in loops. The little loops in this game, for example, would be the stamping the passports. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. A bigger loop would be saving your family. And the medium loop would be, for example, the levels. You know, like this, I just finished one of the medium loops. But the overall loop is surviving in this game, basically, or having your family survive. So it's very important to keep those loops in mind and making sure that you have all those loops in your game. The second thing, I know this was a long one, but anyway, the second thing about this screen is it changes the choices that you will make in the future. Now, in the previous level, there wasn't many moral choices that you had to make because it was mostly just checking the papers and that's it. And that's good because the player needs to learn those mechanics, so don't complicate things too much. But later on, if you've played the game, you know this. If you haven't, I really recommend you try it because you'll know what I'm talking about. You will have to take moral choices. You might save somebody's life by saying, yes, you can go in, or no, you cannot go in. And these moral choices, if you didn't have your family behind, they would be a bit easier. There would be easier choices. If a woman comes up to you and says, can you save my life? You say, yeah, sure, why not? and you approve her and she goes in, there's not really a lot of conflict there. But the thing is, if you make a mistake, you might not be able to feed your wife or your son, or you might not be able to pay the rent. Now there's a conflict. Now, do you help this stranger to go by and save her life, or should you look after your family? And that's where the moral choices really kick in, and that's what this game does amazingly well. So it just changes the way you make those moral choices. You really recommend you play the game so you really truly understand these weird choices that you have to make. And this is very important to keep in mind when telling a story. You need conflict. And the good thing about gaming is that that conflict is interactive. So in a movie, for example, people just watch the movie and they see the character confront conflict. But in games, you're actually confronting conflict yourself. That's what makes it so special. So make sure there's conflict everywhere, because that's what will fuck up with the players' mind and really make it a very enjoyable experience. So we're going to sleep. Next day. Yep. Let's move on. And I'm going to try to go a little fast this time, because like I said, I want to get to some of the important parts of it. I want you to start getting a feeling of those moral choices. So this one, for example, she's kind of normal. Oh, let's check the rules. Basic rules, everybody. This has to be good. Okay. So I think she's okay. I'm probably gonna make mistakes, because I mean, the whole point of this video is explaining stuff, not really playing well. So yep, thank you. And meanwhile, I mean, you can also get an idea of the interface. I know it's not one of the subjects we're covering, but the interface in this game is great. I mean, big red stamp, big green stamp. The shape of this fits perfectly. It's just really well designed. It's very intuitive. If you don't even know what you're doing, you know what you're doing. I mean, even if you don't read the rules, you know what you're doing. So she's expired, I think. Come on. Also, it's interesting that the faces are different, because just by looking at their faces, you like them more or less. I like this lady less, for example. But it's interesting. It's a very simple thing, but that's part of the storyline of it. Thank you. What do you mean, hurry up? So here's the interesting thing. Hurry up, I am meeting bus soon. Okay. This is what I was talking about. This is a very superficial moral choice, because she just literally told you to hurry up. And that could piss you off. So you could say, you know, screw you and not let her in. Or you could just be nice and say, okay, fine, whatever. But already here you're starting to make moral choices. If you're the kind of person who would be like, Jesus, this lady is rude, you might just say denied. And if you're like, screw it, it's my job, I don't want to get in trouble, you say approved. And that really has to do with your personality. It's not a mechanics thing. A lot of games, they have one solution and that's it. Here it's not one solution, it's a very personal solution. So it makes it very personal, and that's why you connect so much with the story. So male, da-da-da-da-da, this guy is, I don't know, he's fine. I guess we'll find out soon. I'm probably gonna screw up because I'm talking too much. Come on. So here's another interesting thing that has to do with the story. Suddenly she drops something new. So the player is already getting used to this back and forth of the passports, and suddenly you introduce a new element to the game, which is not only like, what the fuck is going on, it's also kind of funny. So humor is always a good idea, because it's a strip club. It's like, what? And it also, it's a little stupid little thing. I mean, it's not so complicated to implement development-wise, but it makes a huge difference, because to me this is, what other surprises is this game gonna have? And can I go to this strip club later? Can I interact with this? What is this for? Can I use it later? Are there going to be more important things that people are going to give me that I can actually use? So it really gives you a preview of all the stuff that might happen, and also lets the player imagine all this stuff, which will happen. So very simple thing, but it works really. Now again, these are very superficial things because we're very early in the game, but you will find a lot of very deep choices that you might even feel guilty about. This guy is good at, oh, like this for example. Let's pay attention to this. So here suddenly, you're casually doing your thing. Again, you got used to the mechanics of the game, and suddenly you're like, what the fuck just happened? Everything is interrupted, and it's such a calm game because you're just shuffling papers around, and suddenly there's a freaking bomb. So at this point, if you're not hooked to the game, you're not human. Because the thing is, now you know that shit's got real. You see that the world is bigger than you think, and you see that things are more complicated than they seem, and you get an idea for what's going to come, And it also puts you in that mood of how little power you have. Because I mean, I didn't interact in that. I didn't do anything for that to happen, but it interrupted my game. I was in the middle of taking some passports, and it interrupted everything. It stopped the game. So that, impotence of not being able to do anything, it puts you in the mood of who you are. You're just a paper shuffler. So yeah, so I think this is all I wanted to say, more or less. I think we got to a good point. This is kind of a long video, but this game has so much content that you can learn from. So again, I really recommend you play this game from start to finish. They have the demo online, it's free, and the demo already has a lot of content. But if you like the game, I really recommend you buy it because it's not that expensive anyway. So yeah, if there are any other things that you find that are very interesting from a game design perspective in this video, please leave your comments behind. So if you see anything that you learned from this game, put it in the comments. If you like the video and you'd like to see more videos of this kind, just subscribe as usual. And you can also check out our website at www.gameitist.com. So like scientist, but gameitist. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.